This is the Fundamentals Podcast. On the off season, we mostly focus on fantasy. During the season, it's more actual football. We pick games. We do giveaways. They all go to our Patreon subscribers. It's $1 a month. That's to make everybody happy. Takes away the scammers, all that stuff. It also gives your information to a third party because you don't know me, right? So it's $1 a month. Protects you, protects us, and as a thank you for supporting the show, we give giveaways. But today, we're going to start our rankings for fantasy, both dynasty and seasonal. Our Patreon subscribers already have this in their email. But on my list, I did the strength of schedule for every position group. And Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, and Hockenson all have really hard schedules for tight ends. I don't know how much effective that is because they're just so much better than everyone else. But it's something to take into consideration. If you want to know what the strength of schedules are, then you should already have this information because you're paying $1 a month.
It's a little amount.
Dynasty and seasonal are different for me. Not so much on age, but future opportunity. The best tight end in the league.
Too low? He's basically 32. I mean, he is the best tight end.
For Dynasty?
If you're going to win now, I would say, yeah, that's 100% the guy you want to get. But Dynasty-wise, I mean, long-term, outside of one more, maybe 2 years,
Yeah, but
I would take a Kittle, a Hockenson, a Waller over him at least.
Yeah, but tight ends are so fluid. Like, the window of elite success for a tight end isn't the same as other positions.
Yeah.
Like, Kittle came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but he's been doing it
Waller,
for about, 5 years now?
Waller came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're elite.
Yeah.
That's going to happen every year.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Waller, then a TJ Hockenson, then a Kyle Pitts, and that's fine every year. I agree. But once they're usually there for about 5 years. And
Kelsey's been there for about 5 years.
So I agree. But he's reliable, and you don't have to think about it.
He is. That's why I win now. 100% you want Kelsey. Have him on your team.
But this is the thing.
2 years down the road, I don't want him.
You have between 3 and 7 tight ends that are good. Most leagues are between 10 and 12 people. You could still take a Kelsey, play him the whole season, and get top dollar.
You might be able to get top dollar, yeah.
Why take a shot on anyone else?
I'm just not trying to pay top dollar for him. If I'm in a rebuild, I'm not trying to get him.
I'm not saying, hey, draft this guy 1 overall. I'm saying of the tight ends, he's the guy I would want the most in Dynasty.
I would want him the most this season.
I would want him the most.
I don't want him the most in Dynasty.
I want him the most in general because I could use him this year. He'll probably be good next year. I can sell him at any time for top tight end dollar. I mean top tight end dollar, which is lucrative. That's why the Dynasty rankings on tight ends are a little bit different. Just because they're reliable. Once they get that status, they're there.
Yeah, but he's been there a while.
Who are you going to take a shot on? A Waller?
A Kittle.
A Kittle?
A Hockenson. I like Hockenson. I think he has a lot of potential, and he's very, very young still. He hasn't even hit his peak yet.
I agree, and I think he's going to get a bump because golf likes his tight ends. But it's still the 23rd hardest schedule for a tight end. I don't know if he's going to get anywhere close to a Kelsey. So if you
Maybe not this year.
If you draft Hockenson over Kittle, I think you're crazy.
Well, it's not necessarily drafting Hockenson over Kittle. It's what you're going to have to pay to get him. Yeah, I'd rather have Hockenson because you'd have to take Kelsey at the end of the first.
I understand that, but this is just a ranking. This is not
Dynasty-wise, long-term, I would rather have Hockenson, yeah.
If Kittle was on the board and you're going to pick a tight end, who are you taking?
Well, you got to look at your team because a lot of it is involved in that.
I agree, but just in a window for a ranking
Hockenson.
On Dynasty.
Yeah.
If all the tight ends are available,
I would take Hockenson.
You're going to take Hockenson.
I would take
over
Hockenson.
Kelsey.
I would take Waller. I would take Pitts. I have Andrews, but I think I would take Kelsey over Andrews. I just don't trust that offense.
Okay. That's why we're in a podcast together, so we can get a perspective of both sides of the ground. I have Kelce number 1 overall in Dynasty. I have Kittle in seasonal.
Him as number 1?
Kittle is number 1 in seasonal.
That's where I have Kelce number 1.
Okay, I have Kelce 2. I like both of them. Kittle I have number 2 in Dynasty. Just for the mere aspect that the upside for Kelce is higher than Kittle because that offense has had more upside. Mahomes can throw a 90-yard fucking touchdown pass.
But Kelce isn't necessarily the only weapon on the team as the Kittle. He pretty much is.
I agree. But a tight end, they don't really get much volume in general. So both of them are in the top tier. I have my rankings tiered out. So if you don't get a Kelce, Kittle is also in the same tier. Now, if they're there, those are the guys you take.
I would add Waller to that tier. I think those 3, to me, are the top tier.
I don't like Waller.
I like him.
I don't like Waller for the same reason why I have Kelce number 1 overall. It's reliability. Waller's quarterback could change. Waller's coach could change.
I don't think it'll change this year.
You don't know.
I think for this year, it's good. I mean, yeah, the quarterback might change, but I don't see the coach changing.
Yeah, you can make certain conclusions and have projections, but for safety in tight end, that's what I want. I want a reliable guy because I don't want to spend too much time on a position I don't give a shit about.
I'm comfortable with him just throwing him there.
Okay. So I have Kittle and Kelce in their own tier, both in Dynasty and rank and season. It's that second tier I think is just as good as that top tier. The only difference is there's a potential question mark. Their upside might not quite be there yet, but it could easily get there. So third, I have Waller in Dynasty.
Yeah, that's where I got him. Third.
I have Pitts 4 over Hawkinson. And I don't like it there. I really don't. Because there's some question marks with Pitts. I am a huge Pitts guy. The quarterback could change. There's another really good tight end there. There's a lot of weapons there.
There are.
But I think Pitts' ability is so elite that he can play in the slot. He can play in the outside. He can play as a tight end. They can hand him the goddamn ball.
Absolutely.
So I think when the quarterback leaves, it's not necessarily going to hurt him. If Matt Ryan goes down, this guy might become get more volume than when he's in. Because they're going to have a quarterback that maybe can't throw as far. Well, okay. Pitts is a giant monster of a man. He can get those jump balls. So, I don't know. I like his upside. I think his upside is so elite. He could be the next Kelce. He could be the next Kittle. He's not there. That's why I have him 4th. But he's in a tier with Waller.
Yeah, I think right there is the top tier for Dynasty with Pitts. Right on the edge. I mean, you got to put him right under that first tier because he hasn't really done anything yet.
Right, that's why I have him.
But he's at the top of that just because of his potential right there. And I mean, yeah, I have him at 4. I have him ahead of Mark Andrews and still Kelce.
Yeah, so we're actually pretty close. Our tier line is one player different. I have Waller and Pitts in that second tier. And underneath Pitts, I have TJ Hawkinson. And I like Hawkinson. But there's still, you don't know. He is getting Goff.
He is. I think
but
that's good because he is the only really tight end threat they have there as opposed to when they had Everett and Higbee. But Hawkinson, he's shown a lot of his ability on the field. I mean, he's kind of done stuff that got him hurt, so he hasn't been able to be on the field the entire time. But I like his potential there, and I think he can grow a lot.
I do too. I like Hawkinson. But like I said, we haven't seen it yet.
Not a full season.
Yeah. Right underneath Hawkinson, I have Mark Andrews, and that's the last person in my second tier. Those people I'd be super comfortable with in a dynasty for long term. The second tier, no problem with that. The reason why I have Mark Andrews the lowest is because I still don't trust Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. That's why I still have him below Kelce.
I think he could be just as good. And I was the first guy to come out onto this podcast and say, Mark Andrews is the fucking guy. They had a first-round draft pick. They had a veteran. He was third on the depth chart and only saw the field once every 3 games. But every time he was on the field, he played hard. He played good.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, this is the guy. I love him as a player. He's a good person, and he's not the most athletic guy in the world. But he's so reliable. He's always where he needs to be. He can catch the ball. It's just, I think there's a question mark with the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only reason why I have him there.
Yeah, but right there, I mean, whoever you got, I mean, Andrews, that's the last tier. It's a pretty good drop from there, at least from reliability to a point. Because, I mean, you got like Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, Dallas Goedert, but that's not a reliable guy. Yeah, they have a high ceiling, but they have a high or low floor.
Right. I have my third tier just consists of 3 guys. And this is because they have potential to get into the next tier. The ones underneath them don't. So there's only 3 guys, and top guy in that tier is Mike Gesicki.
That's the top?
That's the top guy in my third tier. He's a little bit of a shot. But I feel comfortable with Mike Gesicki. He's got one of the easiest tight end schedules this year. So if you didn't truly believe in him, and you're in a dynasty league, and you miss out on those top guys, I think you could run with Gesicki this year, and then trade out of him in the offseason. Because he's a young guy. He's going to have a good season. But I think he could hit that next tier. It depends on Tua.
Yeah, the whole offense depends on him.
So, without Tua, Gesicki was a top 5 tight end. But when Tua came in, he didn't throw it as much to the tight end. So that's the question mark that you're going to have to wait on. We need to see Tua throw to him.
Yeah, we need to see more. But I think right there, I would put Noah Fant ahead of Gesicki. I think Fant's just better. And on that offense, there are a lot of mouths to feed. I think Drew Lock is a better quarterback, at least airing it out. I like that offense better. I would take Fant ahead of him, dynasty and season.
Yeah, I have Noah Fant right underneath Gesicki. He's also got an easy schedule. But as much as I like, we still have a question mark with that quarterback.
Yeah.
And the difference between Fant and Gesicki, well, it's pretty close. I was going to say I like Sutton better than some of the weapons they have there for reliability. Sutton's going to be a guy that's going to bail you out, right? Gesicki's got to be that guy for Miami.
Will he?
Who's the big body, muscle, possession guy there? It's Gesicki.
I mean, if Tua can go to him consistently.
So that's the only reason why I think they're in the same tier. I think they're really close together.
Yeah, they are close.
That's the only reason why I have Gesicki over Fant is because I think Gesicki might or could be a guy that the Tua goes to when he has to. And I don't think Fant's going to be that guy. I think Sutton will be that guy. A big-bodied, I can catch the ball and come down with it. Throw a jump ball. But that's really it. The last player I have in that tier is Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram reminds me of a Herndon. We saw really good things in a short period of time, and then he kind of fell off. I don't know if that's the quarterback. I don't know if that's the system. I don't know if he can get back to those levels. But we saw him play up like a Waller. We saw him play up like a Kittle.
Yeah, but that was a while ago.
Very short. So I think he has the ability to get back there. I just don't know if he will. So he's the last person in that third tier where I'm not necessarily going to completely give up on. I would rather take a shot on him than anyone else at this point.
I didn't have it tiered out on Dynasty, but below Fant and Gesicki, I would put Jonnu Smith for Dynasty, and I would take him ahead of both of them in season. He signed a big contract. He is supposed to be more of a blocking tight end because Hunter Henry's more of a receiving tight end, but they can still do both. That's why it makes him very versatile. But I think Jonnu's upside with the touchdowns is what makes him very high upside. I think he's going to have close to double-digit touchdowns. And with that in the tight end, I mean, he's going to be top 10 every year.
I think that is a bold statement, personally. I do believe in his ability. Mark Andrews was nothing more than a blocking tight end.
Well, right? I mean, you look at what the Patriots did before in the past with their 12 personnel.
Yeah, but what was the key factor that they had back in the
Yeah,
past.
they had Tom Brady, but they can
That's-
still run that system.
I don't
and
know if-
Cam Newton is good with tight ends, but I think next year Mac Jones would grow that system a little bit more and be better for Jonnu. That's why I would take him higher in Dynasty.
I wouldn't put him nearly this high in Dynasty.
Well, I think a lot of this is kind of taking shots because, yeah, I like Evan Ingram, but he hasn't really done anything for a while. You have guys like Dallas Goedert, but he still is kind of unproven, and that system is changing. I like how the direction the Eagles are going, but I'm not sure when it's going to get started.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have him that much further away from you. I mean, you're outside the top 10. You're in this fourth tier. You're taking a shot on somebody. I do like Jonnu Smith. I just don't know if the quarterback can suffice. There's a lot of stuff that can go on there. I think they're going to be a very running team. I think Mac Jones could be a savior for Jonnu Smith. The problem is I don't know when Mac Jones is going to be ready.
It might take a year, but I think he will take over and it will get better from there.
Okay. So my first person in this tier is Pat Freiermuth. I like what he brought. I like his college game. He is a rookie. He has a very easy schedule for a tight end. So I think his learning curve might be a little bit quicker.
Well, he's still got Ebron there.
Yeah, they do. He's 29. He's going to be 30 this year.
Yeah, but he's still going to be the lead tight end, and I don't expect any rookie tight end really, except maybe Pitts, to do a whole lot unless they get the volume.
Yeah, I think Pat Freiermuth is a damn good tight end. I don't know how quickly it's going to take. But in this tier, you're taking a shot. I would take a shot on him, Cole Kmet, Jonnu Smith, players like that in this tier. Outside of the top 10, you're either going to stream your tight end anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why they're in this tier, because maybe you don't have to, and you can kind of hope that you hit them in the future. Maybe pick a guy up right before a bye week to just fill in and then cut. Mm-hmm. I think that tier is just future potential. That's why I have him in Dynasty. But kick over to seasonal. I have a pretty big move at third. We already talked about Kittle and Kelsey's 1 and 2. My second tier, I have Mike Gesicki right here.
Okay. That's high for me.
It's high for a lot of people. And the reason is I think he's just going to have that embodiment of the possession receiver, because they have a lot of good receivers there. They have talent, but he's probably the biggest, most possession type of receiver. I guess you could argue Parker, but Parker isn't that player. He just kind of has the size.
Preston Williams kind of plays like that, but he hasn't been consistent.
Well, we have in development that whole wide receiver grouping. Preston Williams might not see the field.
With as many people as they have, maybe.
Yeah, between Waddle and Parker and Will Fuller, so he might. That's why I said in the argument before, I think Mike Gesicki could be that guy. And with the second easiest schedule for tight ends, I think Gesicki can have a great year. Now, you have Kittle, hard schedule. Kelsey, hard schedule. And then
but that doesn't worry me for those two guys.
It doesn't. That's why they're 1 and 2. But I'm saying for everybody else, like Hockenson, hard schedule. Waller, hard schedule. Like they're in the top 5% of the hardest schedules in the league. And then you have Mike Gesicki, who I think is good and has literally the second easiest schedule for tight ends this year. I think this year, he could have a good campaign. And I would take a shot on him in this next tier. I still like Hockenson. I still like Waller.
Yeah, I mean, right there, I have Waller ahead of him. I actually have Gesicki down at 10 for my seasonal. I'm not sure if he can get that high. I don't want to put Tua that high. I haven't seen him. I need to see more from him to feel that whole offense, really.
I mean, yeah. He's a lot of fantasy is your ability to project. Mike Gesicki was not amazing last year.
No, he finished 7th, half PPR.
7th.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
No. 10 might be a little low for me, but I think 3, that's the ceiling right there. I'm not sure if he reaches that.
He had 85 targets for a tight end. Now, he only had 53 catches. A lot of that is they're switching from Fitzmagic to Tua, and
Yeah,
there
it
was some
definitely hurt
question
him a
marks.
little bit with Tua.
Now, Fitzmagic obviously had a lot more pop to him than Tua. Okay? But if you look, early in the season, he was good. And Tua struggled when he came in.
Yeah.
So half his season was hindered by a rookie quarterback, and he still finished 7th. And they were the 17th for strength of schedule for tight ends. Now they're second. Now, I'm saying I like the projection. I think Tua can be better than he was last year, but there's a good chance Tua falls on his face and Gesicki can't get anything done.
Even if he does, you
There is
still
risk.
have to say that he's going to start to rely on Gesicki when he has 2 new weapons.
Yeah, the only reason why I say rely, I mean, just because when he gets in trouble, he can throw up in the air and he can come down with it. So he's going to become a possession, kind of like throw it up and hope something happens. I think he's the only guy you can really do that. You're really going to throw a jump ball to Waddle. So I just think he could develop into that guy, and he might get a lot of targets.
Yeah.
But seasonal, Hawkinson, Andrews, Waller, they're in the same tier as Gesicki because they're going to be reliable. Even though they have harder schedules, they've proven it. I just have him on the top because I like his potential. I think that schedule kind of brings him up to their level, and then,
Yeah, I didn't take a schedule this year too much into account, at least yet in the rankings.
Yeah, a lot of things change because it goes by mostly last year's production, and so you got to look at the strength of schedule and then make your own kind of ideology on that of, well, they got, 2 good corners.
Yeah.
So maybe that doesn't count as much. There's a little bit of that, yeah. I don't necessarily rely on it either, but if there's a guy I believe in and he just has a super easy schedule, I then feel more comfortable saying, I like this guy, opposed to not. So it's kind of like the tiebreaker.
I usually just wait a little bit to do it. A little early. So after Waller, Hawkinson, Andrews, for me, the next tier would start with Noah Fant, and then you have Kyle Pitts behind him. Getting rid of Julio, I mean, he's going to be used. You can't really deny that, and his potential, at least with Matt Ryan right now, is close to right there. I think he'd get a little higher, but that's close to where he could get, I think.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Evan Ingram and then Noah Fant. I had Noah Fant over Evan Ingram in Dynasty, but for seasonal, I think Evan Ingram, with the addition of Galladay, with Saquon coming back, I think that it takes a lot of pressure off him. Because he was basically the best target last year.
Sometimes.
So I think he had really good coverage. They couldn't really run the ball. Danny was not doing well. I think a lot of that turns over and he becomes more reliable.
You think Kyle Rudolph does anything?
I have Kyle Rudolph. Let's try to find him. I got to scroll down. I have him 37th.
I mean, he's going to have some usage, at least more than the other guy they had back there. It's not going to be much.
I don't think it's going to be relevant in seasonal. And I wouldn't take him in Dynasty.
No, not Kyle Rudolph, no.
Yeah, I mean, that is an angle I didn't probably put enough thought into than I should have. But I think Evan has shown, and I think he can come back. He's got an easy schedule. I think he was just so relied upon last year, and he was still a young player. He just couldn't beat the coverage. And the only reason why I have him over Fant is because I think Fant is in a team that doesn't quite know who they are yet. Because they've never had all their pieces.
Not necessarily once, but I think Fant is a part of that offense. I think it's kind of solidified. So that's why I have him this high in seasonal and dynasty, because I don't think he's really going anywhere. It's just how much in a certain week is he going to get used when they have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton there.
Yeah, I have Noah Fant at the same rank on both dynasty and seasonal. I believe in Noah Fant as well. Now, the next guy in line, I don't want to put here. As a matter of fact, I've taken him completely out of my rankings 3 times. Completely out. And then I put him back 3 times, and this is the spot that I chose. Gronkowski. He really feels like I said last year I want nothing to do with AJ Green.
Yeah.
And I didn't rank him. He feels like that this year.
He's not like
I
that, though.
don't have the same authority or substance to do that.
I don't know if he'll be that high. I mean, he finished 8th last year. He could be that high.
I don't think he'll do an Antonio Brown. I don't think he'll do.
I don't think he'll be a bust, no.
I think as long as Tom Brady's there,
Mhm.
he's going to get targets, and as long as he's getting targets, he's going to get catches. I think
gonna
he's
get
going to have
touchdowns.
he's going to have a Gates type career. He might only have 12 catches on the season, but they're all going to be touchdowns.
I mean, you look at last year, he had 75 targets, 45 catches, 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, 45 catches
That's great.
isn't a lot,
No.
but he's going to get peppered with Tom Brady there.
Yeah.
So I have to acknowledge that. And Gronkowski is an elite player who has veteran authority. He knows how to run a route. He reminds me of an Eric Decker because he's not going to be super fast. He's not going to juke you out of your shoes to make that route.
He's big.
He knows where to be and be open. He just knows how to do it. And then he's open and he's big and he'll catch it.
And he's always done it with Tom Brady, so that just makes it easier.
So that's why I have him this high. He's got the 4th easiest schedule for a tight end, and his veteran leadership, I think he's going to take advantage of some teams. Not all teams. I don't know if he's going to be a guy you're going to play every week.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
He's going to have games where he's the number 1 or close to it.
Yeah.
I hate to say that. I really, like I said, I didn't even rank him. And then I ranked him. And I didn't know where to put him. And I was like, if he's going to do good, which I think he will with Tom Brady, this is about where I'd take him. That 3rd tier, bottom, starting. I have him 10th overall.
I have him in my 4th tier. He finished 8th. Yeah, I can't really argue with that ranking because he absolutely can do it. I have him down at 15. I think it's not going to be a consistent thing. It's going to be a certain week. He's just going to go off, and it's going to happen a few times a year, 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And that's great to have, but you got to be able to know when those games are to get that potential.
Yeah, that's true. He's the perfect ideal.
That's a boom bust option right there. Yeah, that's a best ball pick right there.
But I think you're going to be able to start him more often than not.
Maybe. I mean, he should have a decent floor with Brady there.
Next, I have Jonnu Smith. That's where I have him, my seasonal ranking. I think he's going to do good this year. I don't know if I believe in his long term. That's why I had him a little bit lower in Dynasty. But this year, I think he's gonna prevail a little bit higher. They don't really have elite wide receiver talent.
Yeah, they don't really have receiving options there. It's going to be mainly Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, I would imagine. I could see Aguilar being the deep threat there. I mean, not really sure which one's going to prevail, but I like the tight ends there. And like I said, I like Jonnu because of his touchdown upside. That's why I have him at 8 for season long this year. But down at 10, I mean, that's where I have Gesicki, already went to him. But for 11, that's where I have Logan Thomas. He finished 6th last year, and I feel like this might be a little low for him, especially with getting Fitzpatrick, the best quarterback he's at least had so far in his career.
I like Logan Thomas. I have to see it. The reason I have him this high is because Fitzmagic does love tight ends.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he showed his ability with Dwayne Haskins there. I mean, and Alex Smith.
Yeah, he did it sporadically, though.
Yeah, but it didn't help that they kept changing quarterbacks.
No, it didn't. Washington will find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. I haven't figured out how that's going to happen.
I don't know.
But that team looks really good right now, offensively.
They look good defense, too.
The player I have after that is Kyle Pitts. I don't know how relevant he's going to be his rookie year. However, I think he can be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Tight ends usually take a little bit longer, but in today's age and his ability to be a wide receiver more than a tight end, I think helps.
You go to 13 for me, that I have Hunter Henry right there, because I think both tight ends in the Patriots offense are going to be useful in fantasy.
I have Hunter Henry 1 tier down, only 3 spots away. So I can't get mad at that ranking.